If you have recently been through a difficult breakup or divorce, or if you are sick and tired of how modern women and modern society are, you should join mgtow. This organization is responsible for bringing joy to thousands of men by assisting them in breaking free from stories that only serve women and the happy ruling the world. If you are sick and tired of how modern women and modern society are, you should join mgtow. I concur with the sentiment that women are to blame for a disproportionate amount of the suffering that males experience. Mgtow can be spelled in a few different ways, including the following. Consider the following list of frequent reasons men give for choosing not to marry or create romantic relationships with women. If you or someone you know has ever questioned, why are males going their own way, consider the following list of typical explanations men provide. Here is what you should answer in response to that question if it is asked by anyone else. You assert that I have already carried out the laborious tasks of analysis and preparation, thus, let's get started. Gynocentricity's first cardinal rule: nearly everywhere on the face of the earth, laws have been enacted specifically to preserve and further women's rights. That is completely absurd, and it completely undermines the feminist arguments that they have presented. Let's be honest about it, the law does not treat everyone the same way. You will discover proof supporting this allegation in the following, so please continue reading. When males are wrongfully accused of rape or domestic violence, they are handled as if they are guilty until it can be demonstrated that they are innocent. Statements of guilt or guiltiness uttered by women are almost never taken seriously. On the other side, a man's entire life can be ruined if he is wrongfully accused of a crime and is unable to provide evidence to prove his innocence. Because the #MeToo movements have contributed to making the problem even more widespread, many men are taking preventative measures. When it comes to dissolving marriages, the law and the courts typically side with the woman. Men who have put in a lot of effort and achieved success in their careers are punished for the rest of their lives if they have to provide financial support for a woman who has chosen to be a stay-at-home parent to their children. When fathers lose custody of their children, they wind up paying alimony 88% of the time, and in 97% of those cases, equality does not apply. The courts do not even bother to investigate whether or not the child truly receives the child support payments or whether or not the money is being used for the mother. Why do we have such a high percentage of single mothers in contemporary society? Putting on an extravagant display of affluence by donning fancy clothing and bringing designer luggage. 80% of divorce petitions are submitted by women, and around 50% of marriages ultimately result in the dissolution of the marriage. It is not your fault if you are divorced and have to pay alimony or child support to your ex-wife for the rest of your life due to the fact that women cheat on their spouses at a rate that is approximately 50% of the time. This is the case even if an adult lady sexually assaulted you when you were a teenager. When they were 18 years old, a cultural predisposition toward individuality is the second factor. Manslaughter is never taken seriously by law enforcement, despite the fact that men, when accounting for the jail population, are raped at higher rates than women are. Inclusion is nothing more than a story presented to make people feel better about themselves, as evidenced by the relative lack of attention given to male victims of domestic violence in contrast to their female counterparts. This demonstrates that inclusivity is nothing more than a story. Men are encouraged to express their feelings and feel linked to the feminine energy that they possess, and society works hard to ensure that women have the impression that they are powerful and able to handle themselves. It is especially reprehensible that when women are victims of abuse, they receive sympathy while men who face the same issues are looked down upon. This reality brings us to the next point in our argument, which is that males who face the same challenges are looked down upon. When a woman slaps a guy, she is saying that he is a horrible person, yet, when a man slaps a woman, he is the bad one for hitting a female. When a woman slaps a man, she is implying that he is a nasty person. However, violence against men is frequently used as a humorous trope in the media, in stark contrast to the way that violence against women is not condoned. As a direct consequence of this double standard, there will be a significant backlash, as well as feminist demonstrations in the streets. In today's culture, there is an expectation of gender equality, but primarily with regard to the more desirable aspects of life. They never follow through on their hollow promises regarding women's rights to be represented on corporate boards and other high-powered positions with equal pay and exposure of the chest, but they continue to make these promises. When it comes to paying bills on time, working in dangerous occupations like mining construction or mandatory drafting for military purposes, and standing on trains and buses when seats are unavailable, women are still treated as though they are unique snowflakes, while men are still considered expendable. This is the case even though women are still treated like special snowflakes. Recognize that women now wield equal authority as men, but that they demand to be treated like queens. Women seek equality, but they are unwilling to serve in potentially risky vocations or in the armed forces. It is absolutely necessary for society to get rid of its double standards altogether. More equality is needed in society, and this includes equality between the sexes. This will ensure that males are not made to feel excluded and will be regarded on an equal footing with women. In a culture in which the issues faced by one gender are given higher priority than those faced by the other, the goal of achieving throwaway sex equality will never be realized. In addition, problems are only handled when women are afflicted by them. If a male is harmed by the same issue, no one pays any attention to it. This is a double standard that has to be addressed. Thirdly, there is an insufficient amount of motivation to begin dating. As a result of this phenomenon, which is referred to as female hypergamy, women have a tendency to prefer men who are superior to them in terms of height, intelligence, wit, financial security, and physical prowess. This creates a challenging situation for any man who falls short in any of these areas. If a man wants to have sex with a lady, he must first gamble away 50% of his entire life savings. Even though she could just as easily have one-night encounters or pay someone else for it, he is forced to put up with her erratic behavior and excessive demands for sex while his children are sent to jail and his career is devastated. Is there not a more sensible, less expensive, and safer choice available? Due to the fact that it is illogical, no man should ever get involved in a love relationship. The reason that women behave in this manner is because there are not enough dating opportunities available in our contemporary society for the majority of individuals to begin dating. The vast majority of women just do not put out sufficient effort to ensure the success of their romantic partnerships. If a woman wants something specific from a romantic partnership, she shouldn't expect to have it both ways. Rather, she should pick one or the other and be content with her decision. The fourth point is that women have natural advantages. From an evolutionary point of view, women tend to favor men who are able to provide for them and their progeny to a greater extent than the typical caveman could, and the more men there are who are able to do this, the better. On the other hand, men have a fundamentally different makeup. Women are programmed to favor financially secure men due to the fact that fertile females create superior offspring. Let's confront facts. Dating Dan Bilzerian might not appeal to as many ladies as you might think they would. Because men are biologically predisposed to be dogs, it wouldn't surprise me if he was living on the streets. This indicates that they are shallow and that they are just concerned in the outward appearance of other people. In general, women anticipate that their spouses will place importance on their outward appearance. Their wealth to buy themselves pleasure, and the sex that they get in return is the payoff for their behavior. Therefore, marriage in today's society is essentially just a form of legalized prostitution. The only difference is that it is 1,000 times more expensive, and men are expected to put up with the consequences. The majority of men would rather enjoy their single status through sexual exploits or by ignoring the subject of love commitment completely given the price tag that comes along with it. In spite of the fact that we are fortunate enough to live in a civilization that is quite modern, our culture nevertheless maintains a number of practices that are considered to be more archaic. Dating options for women tend to be limited to guys who are wealthy, tall, and physically strong. Women who are physically attractive and have curves are more likely to attract male attention. In point of fact, the tale of the multimillionaire dating the young adult of only 23 years old is not all that extraordinary. In my opinion, each and every one of these arguments carries a lot of weight. They do not believe that they are sick and tired of the way women and society are right now, therefore, they choose to live a life of singlehood in order to avoid difficult legal issues and women who believe they are entitled. In addition, Contrary to the widespread perception, they are experiencing greater levels of happiness than they ever have in the past, even more so than women. Let's call it a night and call it a day for now.